Black people under the system of racism have no friends, and it was very tragic what happened to Mr. Thomas Sankara.
Yeah, I kind of got that when, my dad used to always tell me when I was little, you don't have no friends. And I was like, yes, I do. As I got older, I got what he was saying.
Yeah, but he told you you ain't got no friends, but he didn't tell you why. That's part of the problem. You don't have any friends
Yeah.
in the system, man. My mom told me the same thing. You ain't got no friends. You got associates. I'm like, all right. What does that mean, though?
Yeah, I thought it was just like a good documentary to kind of analyze like the things that he did, what worked, what didn't work, and just like you can really see that even if you kind of have a vision, if the people that are in that country and the people around you are still not on code, still not aware,
Metacided.
it's really you can't I don't know if you can simultaneously like rebuild a new society while trying to get everyone psychologically like unmentacided. I feel like you have to do one before the other because you
Yeah.
could see like even though there was a part where like the people still didn't want to wear the traditional African clothes to work.
Yeah, like what
Like
the
that was crazy. Like it
pitiful, pitiful.
was just
Yeah, I absolutely love this documentary. It gave me so much energy, so much positive energy. But it's unfortunate that white supremacy, in a way, won at the end, where you have Blase, selling him out to the Ivory Coast and to France. But yeah, I really liked it, and the clothes that they're making I thought all the clothes they're making were amazing. All those outfits look so cool. Like I would love to dress normally and have access to those type of garment, especially when he was like at the tribunal with the French president or the president of Paris or whoever the guy was.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I enjoyed that documentary for sure. I had no idea who this man was before watching it. After
yeah.
watching it, I'm glad I do know who he is.
Sad he went out
For,
like that though. That's fucked up.
yeah, for me, I was yeah, I just had that thought. For me, I was very man, I had a thought, I just forgot it. Hold on.
It happens when people are interrupted. Let's try not to interrupt people, guys. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, I remember now. Okay, yeah. So I thought, man, here was a great example of somebody who's doing it all right. Like I thought he was going in for his people. He had that he got the youngers on that revolution, like just purely, you know, bringing up kids who are all about the revolution. If it doesn't make sense to them, it doesn't make sense to the revolution. I thought that was pretty intense. I thought that was crazy. And also, how how he also talked in the public, how he carried himself. I thought that was also very good. And yeah, and I really liked how he like basically got the people to start building, that railroad across the country.
That
Like,
was
man,
amazing.
what like why don't I see more of that? I see a ton of people, not really doing anything in like Africa, and like, just getting them organized. Like look how you accomplished that. You don't gotta wait for the foreign aid like he was saying. I thought he was like a great example, like a great blueprint. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion off of this right now.
I like the fact that he was trying to make sure they made their own supplies, their own like personal things,
Mhm.
instead of trying to depend on other states and other governments
Yeah.
around.
That how he said, we produce more, we produce enough, we produce more than we need. You don't need anyone after that. I also saw where I felt like they were going wrong. For me, that was like the Rambo, when everybody seemed to be getting on Rambo. I was like, all right, well, I can see now where things are starting to go south because it seems like the consciousness of the people there is starting to morph into this fictional white man character. Like everyone is really
Yeah,
I noticed that too.
yeah. I don't think there was
Yeah.
never a really like deprogramming stage that
Yeah.
was done. So the Africans were still very much metacided and still very much traumatized over the just centuries of white terrorism that has been happening in Africa, and that's one of the reasons why, you know.
I feel like there was deprogramming, but it was almost like forced. And so people just, I don't know, like they weren't into it or
Yeah,
something like that.
they weren't really understanding like the full force, given like the full force of the problem involved.
Yeah, and I think in Africa there's a big like wanting to be like the West, still wanting to be like white countries. And I think he was trying to be like, you need to
And
be African, like, and I think people were just so really mental-sided that they didn't. And then like I think the guy talks about how like Africa is like balkanized, so it's like even though it's one continent, all of these different things are going on, all these different type of leaders, and there's so many just traitors, and I think there's more presidents who are willing to sell out their people than not. And so, you know, a lot of leaders try to do pan-Africanism and it just never works out because other people always get bribed by white countries.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if the documentary did justice, but it seemed like for the most part, most of that country was on board. It, at least in my opinion, it seemed like everybody was very much like for the ideas he was talking about. And it seemed like really I know you always have like outliers and like officials, but it really only seems like that guy that was supposedly his best friend was like really like it was like only his sole contribution. Like he's I don't know, he's the one that
I
kind
don't
of achieved it.
wait, what you're saying that the guy who was his best friend was like the only outlier?
No, was like I'm saying for the most part, it seemed like everybody was on board with him with with what he was doing, even in like his government. Of and the his best friend seemed like the only person that was either going against him or set up his demise. I don't think anyone. It didn't seem like anyone else in the country was actively trying to do that.
I think I'm sure there were. I mean, he kind of tries to like they allude to it, but I think like the upper class in Burkina Faso, that if there is an upper class, quote unquote, there probably makes a lot of their money from trading with like France and other white nations. And I think that those people were probably also like very much against him. Like, and I think they kind of make they allude to it with the tribunals, how they were kind of taking like redistributing wealth and stuff. But I think I don't know, those tribunals, they did that in Cuba too, and I just think they're kind of a mess and like a spectacle. And I think that was one of the beginnings of his downfall, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted to.
yeah,
Did anyone catch that? I'm not sure if he ever talked to his nation about like white supremacy or how in depth he went into like what was going on and that they needed to like restore their minds and their spirits and how like the depths of healing that they need to do as a nation. Um, but I noticed he mentioned imperialism a lot. Like, is that what he's calling this force that's oppressing his nation? Imperialism.
Yeah.
Anyone
Yeah,
catch?
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. So I mean, Trey. Wow, what the sorry. I agree with that, Trey. Um, it was definitely like I think that the like Sankara was a Marxist, so I think like Marxism is like they don't go into this. I think that's a big thing that he missed talking about is really like the psychology of being oppressed and having to really like actually like you know, free your mind from white supremacy. And I think like that's why he was so focused on changing people's material goods and material interests and how they produce things. But a lot of people's minds are still caught up in wanting to be white or please white people. And so I think that that was a part of like his downfall, is not really talking about white supremacy or talking about the fact that black, and I think he should have made a call to like black people in America too, black people in France, like the international black community.
That way it came.
He did. He did it at that convention. I don't think it was at the UN. I think it must have been with like other African countries. But when he was talking about the debt and coming together,
No, I mean he was trying to get like a he was trying to not pay the debt collectively, but I don't think that he was trying to do something that like brought Black Americans to Burkina Faso and stuff like that, or like Black French people, like that would have been cool. I feel like that would have helped.
Yeah, it's just very like, we see this pattern, over and over where a Black male is attempting to no longer be dependent on the white supremacist system, and he was trying to go about that by not having to pay this debt and also having their own means of production. But the white supremacists cannot allow like any area of the world to do this, to escape his grasp. This is why we will see leaders like Sankara, and Gaddafi, and and we will always see these people annihilated. I think it's very like, I don't know if it's possible to eradicate white supremacy in one isolated area of the world. I think it needs to be like a global, like it needs to be a planetary agenda to solve this problem, or else these incidents will continue happening.
Is North Korea? Do they have they eradicated? I don't think they have.
Yeah, I feel like people there are being mistreated. So white supremacy is definitely over there too. Wherever people are being mistreated, just I blame the white supremacists, and I suspect the white supremacists to be the ones to blame for that mistreatment.
Yeah, just chime in. I enjoyed the documentary.
I'm sure the mistreatment happened.
Hello?
Yeah, you're kind of choppy.
Okay, one moment. Is that better?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so I really enjoyed watching this documentary and learning about Sankara. I had no idea about him beforehand, and this is leaders like this is exactly why they don't want to teach Black leaders to like rise for themselves. And one thing I do believe that he saw imperialism as synonymous as white supremacy, because he taught them the gems of accepting food from others means that they will control you. Making statements like that, it gets into the people's minds. But if you're teaching them exactly what white supremacy is, then now that he's gone, it's easy for them to fall back into the realms of control by this new leader or his best friend, like imposing some of the laws that he felt his friend would have been into, or like just trying to carry on some of his traditions. Like it's easier to die out because sorry?
Nothing.
Okay, yeah. I wish to know more about like leaders like Sankara. I believe is it Uganda? They had somebody who helped them free themselves from colonialism. I feel like every sorry?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. What was that?
You were saying in Uganda?
Yeah, in Uganda, when they were freeing themselves from colonialism or trying to gain independence, one of the rebel leaders who actually helped do that was like not allowed to run for presidency, and it reminded me of like you'd probably have Sankara's mentality, and anybody who is willing to think like that will never be. from watching the documentary today, some of the conversations that he was having when he was like when he was speaking out and like rallying up the people and like that many people being in love with him, encouraging women to be leaders for themselves, encouraging women to do it just as good as men. I'd never heard any Black African leaders speak in that tone like ever. And so I just, in seeing him, I just knew it was somehow someone was going to intercept, and that really got to me. But yeah, I let someone else like chime in.
Even the beginning of the documentary, it reminded me of ISIS papers, because even in the beginning, they're like, this person was murdered by his closest friends or whatever it said in the beginning, and I was like, of course, if there's any Black person who's attempting to stop being oppressed by racism, white supremacy, they get snuffed out, and like it made me feel like sad and defeated, as Dr. Francis Cress Wilson says that it's what it's designed to do. But also on the flip side, it shows you how possible it is, and like there's things that you can do and things you can implement. Maybe you want to go to Baki Sofa actually. Maybe you want to actually go there and check it out.
Burkina Faso. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's amazing what happened in just 3 years. Like, and I think what's crazy is I think that whole time frame is just really crazy, because a lot of countries like in Congo, Ghana, a lot of other countries, not just in and then also like around like earlier in that time was like Vietnam, Korea, like all of these non-white countries were really trying to like free themselves from like their white rulers. And I think that that type of fear that brought into the white supremacists has caused us where we are now, where like I feel like all these countries, I can't even think of an African country right now that has a leader similar to Sankara. I don't know if you guys know of any. And yeah.
I know that currently the president of Ghana, they just had their elections. I don't know who won either. But he was talking about a lot of what Sankara was saying as far as producing our own and only using our own. He's been talking a lot about that lately. As far as anybody else goes, I don't know. I think that's the only thing that I noticed that that he was talking about that's still kind of currently going on, or that I've seen recently in Africa.
And I also wanted to bring up the fact how like this is the same thing kind of happened to the Black Panther Party when they were doing the breakfast program, and then J. Edgar Hoover said that one of the most dangerous things you can do is feed a Black child, because it's erasing our dependency from like the state to provide like basic I guess basic things we need to survive, like food, water, and shelter. It reminded me of that, just like what he was doing definitely reminded me of like the Black Panther Party.
What did you guys think of that move when the teachers went on strike, and then they're talking about how there's 1,500 teachers gone? What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I was trying to look it up during the documentary because I was wondering like why they went on strike and what their demands were, and why he didn't like try to compensate. Yeah, he was just like, you guys are all fired. No, that's not very constructive, quote, so-called Marxist, not very like working class, like pro working class. That didn't make any sense to me. And I was reading too that like Burkina Faso has like there's like a teacher or something for like 1 in every 500 kids. So
oh my god,
that was like a really big loss. I don't know why he did that, but I don't know what their demands were. And
There's got to be more to that.
I don't know. I don't want to be like a conspiracy type person, but I'm like, were they paid to go on strike by, you know, like counter-revolutionary forces? I don't know.
Wow. I like that. I think
that doesn't seem that illogical. I mean,
yeah, that sounds like accurate.
Because then it would make sense for him to like, I'm not gonna try and negotiate with you guys. I don't know.
Yeah. Personally, I thought, you know, oh, man, this isn't such a bad thing. They're probably teaching those kids European curriculums anyway. Toss all of them.
nonsense.
Yeah, but if you don't have anything to a substantial thing to replace it.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Then that's when it seemed like all of them started signing up for the army or whatever because they didn't
Yeah.
have teachers. I don't know if that was the point that they were trying to make, but that's the point that I took from it. Like once they didn't have enough teachers, it seems like most everybody started signing up for the army.
I think I have to rewatch that part because I know like right after the teacher strike, they showed all of the people were like joining the army. I don't remember if it was like directly correlated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Because I thought that was interesting, especially because it's like he's talking about neocolonialism and imperialism, which are like, you know, they don't really use armies for that necessarily. It's more about trade deals and the World Trade Organization and things like that. So I understood like, you know, wanting to build your forces, but it seemed almost like a kind of a spectacle in a sense. Like it didn't seem very practical.
Oh yeah, let's see.
But I thought the tribunals was just such a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know. They kind of seemed like good ideas. I kind of like the idea of, you know, publicly disgracing those officials, you know, having them like serve the people, them not being allowed lawyers and stuff like that. I can see like why or how that can turn into like a spectacle and, you know, and turn into become tacky. I recently learned what tacky means. Yeah, but I thought I kind of thought that was a good idea. I don't think that was the worst thing that he did. You know.
Yeah, like I thought it was really important how he showed the importance of like being able to like house and feed people. So I'm like should we make like libraries, like library shelters where like the homeless can come there and be sheltered and also like do some constructive reading or something. I don't know. I'm just like what kind of institutions can we make that can be constructive but not a huge target for the white supremacists to blow up. It's just
Like have it seem like it's charity, so it doesn't look like it's actually like type like countering racism.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Wow, that's an amazing idea. Actually, that's definitely go into fruition. Each one read one. Yeah, I'll be doing more research on Sankara because more leaders like that. I do feel like the only other person, other than him not having much of an African, but a lot of people being aware of him in Africa, like Gaddafi used to travel around to West African countries, definitely giving, but I feel like that's another form of like this eternal imperialism, if anything, but with strong agenda to unify Africa, and anybody with that mindset has to go. So.
Yeah, I think to add context too, I think he gave a speech about, I think that debt speech that he gave was like 2 months or so before he was killed.
Yep. Well, I didn't know about the timeline, but yeah, that's definitely why they put the bat. They had the energy to get his ass out of there. He was talking too much. He was talking about presenting that united front.
Yeah, I don't think people realize the. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jai. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you because I peeped that too. I was like, as soon as he started talking about let's stand together and not pay this debt, that kind of on a smaller scale reminded me of like the situation we was facing here, like a lot smaller, obviously, but like just like not getting bullied into fucking like paying shit that's not our responsibility. Like, and I thought that was like hella powerful.
Yeah, like I don't think that consumers or just like people realize the power of debt. Like I always talk about Black people pooling their wealth together, but I feel like Black people should pool their debt together because this whole like economy in Wall Street is literally based off of debt, right? They trade debt around, they trade people's like mortgages and stuff, which is debt. And if people just collectively were like, we're not paying it, that's millions, hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars that would collapse the economy. And I wish people would be a lot smarter about leveraging your debt, especially like student loan debt. Just don't pay that shit. And like everyone collectively don't pay it,
I don't pay mine, so that's why I'm in default in my debt.
Mine are coming around, but with this kind of information and knowing that I have the support of others, I think maybe we can make a focus group on it or something.
No, I already have plans for my debt. My debt is astronomical. And it's only from one school, my grad program. I've been accumulating debt in my life ever until coming to Europe. But I have I have a plan for it, and it's definitely constructive.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. What did we learn from this? Like, what mistakes can we learn from here? Like, I just learned like very important to like read and not learn. Just like Black people have no like friends. Best we have associates. This is why yeah, maybe I don't know. Like maybe the code book is correct, where like no group is gonna like solve this problem, but like each individual becoming a counter-racist and no longer participating in the system, like it's or the critical mass, like it's the white supremacists to stop practicing the system or to kill all non-white people. They're just like geez, the system is really like powerful, but I'm still optimistic in that we can dismantle it and replace it with justice. Also brings me to the question Afro pessimism. I saw that mentioned in a documentary a lot, and I think that just like could be like a cop out that African nations use to continue their enslavement to white supremacy.
No, do you know what Afro pessimism is?
I don't, but it sounds like zero-risk thinking.
Afro pessimism is the idea that it's actually not an African thing. It was made by Black Americans, but it's the idea that the Black has always been made as the opposite of white, and therefore, if white is an idea of freedom, Black is an idea of slavery, and therefore, to like actually build a society where there's justice, where everyone is treated fair, or no one is mistreated, you have to literally have a whole new society, reconstruct all of humanity. The idea of human is not what it is now. I actually think Afro-pessimism. Well, Afro-pessimism says that like only white people are afforded humanity, and therefore you can't even like have a humanity anymore. You have to completely like have a cultural revolution where nobody thinks the way that we think now. I actually agree with Afro-pessimism in that you have to completely change everything. not just the economics, but like literally like go deep into people's minds and their consciousness and change the way that they see themselves and relate to each other.
Well, I believe calling something that sounds constructive, something that sounds like pessimistic, like negative connotations to something like that is, cause it can cause confusion. As I was confused about the term, it actually seems constructive,
Yeah, I agree with
but
that.
it's not constructive to call it something pessimistic like that. But I could be incorrect.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the name is not good, definitely, but I agree with it.
Did anyone else know, like, maybe I can go to Africa and help and do something like this? Especially if I
Hell yeah.
remember the squad. I remember the squad. I was thinking, hey, maybe we could do this, y'all. So I feel like they don't like us because like we are like have been our minds have been symbiotic infused with the European silly. So we can be of use to unifying Africa in a wholly new way, I think.
Definitely. I was just thinking of ways, the African and African American issue kept coming up in my head, and I'm just like, there has to be that should be my goal to fix that. Like that has to be what was missing this whole time. The idea,
Yeah,
the fact that you didn't think about uniting everybody, and you gotta unite everybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. You have to have a Black internationalism.
I totally agree. Like a black cultural integration program where like maybe 3 months at a time organize a program and people go back to a specific location, learn from their customs and tribes and traditions, and like exchange their own as well in terms of education and whatever we picked up over here that's actually beneficial in terms of like becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business, those kind of logistics. I think that's the future. When I watch stuff like that, I see the future. And when I saw Sankara talking to those women and then seeing those women march, I just thought, of course, military is important, but like outside of that war mentality, imagine organizing that many women to like, I don't know, be marching towards like their agricultural fields and like building, replenishing, like what he said about not the non-deserting rule. Like I just saw the possibilities, and I know for a fact because being first generation Sierra, my family are constantly on the phone to our family members back home, and like the dependence and reliance that I started to feel from like 14, 15 people asking me to send money for them, and I'm like, I don't have enough for school lunch dinners, and that level of reliance on me, a 15-year-old, let alone my grandma and everyone else in the family, let me know that they're just literally waiting for direction. And I'm not meant to be ignorant and saying that there's nothing that they have to offer and they don't have any form of autonomy and direction, but the colonial mindset that is there is taught them to remain dependent. They're still on survival, especially after the Civil War. Like there's always like recombobulation, and you can never really get back to the height of like consciousness that they were at prior, which my grandma always used to tell me about before the Civil War. So like I have high hopes and promises for the future of the right mind, going back to the right mindsets. But the only thing that I know for a fact that my uncles say all the time is that they will kill you. Like from the having conversations about straightening out the government, he says stuff like they will kill you. So Nas has a song called Patience. I love that song so much. And when I had listened to an interview, he mentioned him and Damian Marley. He mentioned how he had gone to Mali and spoke to like one of the chief elders, and he was talking about like the connection between the African Americans and Africans back home. And he was like, "Oh, we want to like when is it gonna be good?" And then he was just like Isabari, which means patience. He was like, patience, like the time is coming, it's all written. So like it's only a matter of time. I feel like apparently there's people back home waiting for with the right mindsets to come and help. So not even just help, to come in the line and learn from each other and work together on the unification of Africa as states rather than separate countries.
That remind me of the movie Us. We all got to plot underground and then come out.
On next Friday, I do live no
Oh yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I think we're gonna get to closing comments, but I just wanted to say to what Mary was saying. Yeah, it's really crazy, the colonial mindset and the dependence. Like I know Mexico doesn't even grow any of its own corn. All of its corn is exported from America, and these are like the people who first domesticated corn. Just like in Ghana, I think a lot of the kente that Ghana produces or like has comes from China, like the actual fabric and stuff. So it's pretty.
Holland,
Huh?
Holland as well. Holland is like a main manufacturer for like African kente, and it's just like how?
Yeah.
But it's all having the materials and the industrial like factories to get these prints done at faster rates when we should have it ourselves.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to have closing comments or?
It just makes you realize that, you kind of learn from your past. You kind of learn from the mistakes that you shouldn't do and the things that you should press on to do. Um, but yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I feel like we didn't have that problem at a time where we didn't depend on anybody, but the white government, they don't like that. They don't like that when we become a little bit more independent, feel like, hey, we don't need you. They would short stack that real quick. So, I mean, the last time I heard of that was actually the Black Panther Party. So basically, we just gotta find different ways to end white supremacy. But as far as like, we gotta start with our mindsets, how to break it down, try to understand what is white supremacy. And then once we understand it, go from there. But everybody should always go back to Africa. That's what a lot of people say. Go back to Africa, try to understand your roots. You'll have a different perspective when leaving, when you go back home.
I more just
My closing comments are just yeah, I think Thomas Sankara is a very good example of Black self-respect, and someone we should remember as a person who worked hard to solve this problem and learn from the mistakes that were made. And yeah, that's it.
My closing comments is that I hope to have some type of similar effect on the world as Thomas Sankara had, and I really enjoyed this documentary. It gave me hope that, hey, the system actually can be opposed, and it can be, we can be codified and unified in a way that I haven't seen before. And then yeah, it gave me some type of hope. I really enjoyed it, and like I agree with Swa. He showed a lot of self-respect, and some of the people around him did as well. Like the last bodyguard he had, well, the last protector that he had probably died with him. It wasn't mentioned.
For my closing comment, Thomas, somebody say his last. Oh, Sarenka is
Sankara.
another Sankara. Thank you. Sorry, another is now an ancestor that I know that did his part that am going to acknowledge and thank. And I definitely got inspired again. It really makes me feel, that people have definitely been trying, because this is now another African leader that I've seen, really try and do the best for his people, the best he knows, the best he can do for his people. And another great example of white supremacy. So I feel inspired, and I'm glad I watched this. Thank you, Thomas Sankara.
It's definitely it was a lot to unpack there. It's just sad that his people didn't have his back, not fully. He didn't have the full support that he should have had. And I mean, he's only one person. Like, it's hard. How do we get to that point where everybody's on brand? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It makes me feel really concerned. It kind of makes me feel discouraged a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know. It's just odd. It's an odd situation. Like, how could anybody defy what he was doing just because they have like some personal interest in the country? Like, this man is like trying to free everybody, like, or was at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy how the desire for power, like your own power, like, can corrupt you. Like, I don't know. I'm talking in circles, but I enjoyed this movie.
I'll give my closing comments. I don't think you're talking in circles, Jared. That's exactly what I was thinking. Was like, I can't even. I mean, I personally can't put myself in the mindset of choosing myself over a whole ass country of like people, children, etc. Like, I just couldn't understand either the mental gymnastics or just like the menticide to not care about other Black people. I just thought it was really, really unfortunate. And I'm like wondering if he knew it was I mean, the guy kind of alluded to saying that he kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
but
dang, like, it's like it was your second in command. Like, how do you?
it be your own people's, man, and that's the worst part. Like, about it be people who are close to you who begin to falter the quickest because they have their own personal agenda in mind that they will throw everybody under the bus to get closer to the white supremacy. Like, it's fucking crazy, man. Like,
yeah, I believe the same thing happened to Lumumba in the Congo. I think whoever became the president after him was like his military advisor. Like, he was the one who set up the coup against him that like Belgium and America propped him up as president. So it's just like, huh? What did you
folks stay
say?
with these political aspirations, man. It is crazy. It's
But the same thing happened to Kwame Nkrumah too, as well.
Yeah. And these people end up becoming like millionaires. Like, if you just are like the white man's like bitch, honestly,
yeah,
like
be
you
as
get
lackey.
a lot of money. And I guess like, they get a lot of money at the suffering of a lot of people. And it's really unfortunate.
And I really liked how the documentary, like, I know that wasn't the biggest takeaway, but one thing I liked is, like, after they killed him, they went to his house to try to steal shit. And they were like, he died how he lived with nothing in his pockets. And I was like, that's fucking honorable. Like he wasn't faking the funk. Like, he didn't have like secret treasures and shit like tucked away, like for a rainy day or something. He was really just about it. Like, I'll take the pay cut. I'll wear clothes made by local artisans. Like, anything to stimulate the local economy in like Africa, like as a whole, like beyond, like to rid itself of dependence. You know what I'm saying? It was so big how he was talking about that. Like, I'm not going to reiterate that because we talked about it a lot already, but just the fact that he was trying to get his people off the tit of white supremacy, and the people closest to him didn't even give a fuck. Like, the whole time they were plotting on how they can make sure they maintain their position on the board of white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So,
and that guy was the president until 2014. When he was
Blaze or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what happens when you are on the side of the white supremacists. They can keep you stuck in there for a long. Keep you nice and cushy.
Yeah, keep you very safe, very comfortable. Many Black people, victims of the system, will choose comfort over freedom and peace.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, for my close friend, so I'm gonna say one of the quotes he said, which is kind of what he has said, especially when he was like when Ashley said that he was kind of aware that maybe something was looming. Like a week before he had died, he gave in a speech. He said, "You can kill the revolutionary individuals, but you can't kill the ideas." And exactly that, the fact that he was able to surplus his country into having more, into being self-sufficient for food, the fact that he incorporated women into the military, putting them on the forefront. All these things, all these messages will continue to echo. Like as the information has come to us, it will be researched again, and we can help. We can see where the Europeans or the imperialists or the colonial efforts get involved to try and like assassinate. So one, now we know necessary protection is needed on a 24-hour basis, and for somebody who was living next to nothing, like that's one thing that people could at least offer, like security. So for future leaders or for future community builders, in focused on the revolution like that, security is 100% real understanding that we have around them, not being able to be infiltrated when the practice own of like tests and find out if they would snitch. You know, I don't. The point is that we scrutinize because it's real. Like watching this, it was heartwarming, but like everybody's saying, like why would you focus on somebody who only wants self-sufficiency? Like, and it's self-sufficiency. It shouldn't involve anybody else. It shouldn't harm anybody else unless you're doing something wrong in the first place by having your pockets in someone else's like existence and birthright.
That's true. I want to ask one question before we all go, if y'all don't mind. But do you think that people like Thomas, like people who are in that are these seats of power, although they are for the people, but people who are at these positions and at high levels, do you think? Because I think they all know that the possibility of assassination is extremely fucking likely, and they're willing to throw their lives away if that's what's necessary. But at the same time, do you feel like the lack of preparedness that they show for that happening? Do you think they're too cavalier about the fact that they know people want them killed? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like he knew. I feel like people like Martin and Malcolm, they knew. People want you dead. They want you dead so you can stop talking about this shit. And no matter who the leader is, what the person's name is, whoever it is, that there's always going to be in history. There will be somebody who can lead the people, ignite the people. But they will know. Our history will tell them. If you get too much clout, you might fuck around and get assassinated by the government or by people close to you who are funded by the government. Like, you know what I'm saying? So do you guys think that people in those positions know, or maybe I'm tripping, but I feel like they know. So, I don't know.
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I would say yes. They are like very cavalier about the powers that be and their intentions to like keep the status quo in place, keep the business going as usual, the business of white supremacy. So yeah, I do think that whenever a a person is doing something like really constructive against racism, they should be like very, very, aware and that they're in danger, and that danger could come from anywhere. The powers that be have millions of ways to kill people, but one of the usual tactics is getting someone in your corner to do it for them.
Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to contribute. But I just find it also so sad that one of his right hand mans was like, we can get him locked up right now, and he was like, "Fuck it, that's not our job. It's not our job to betray them. It's their job to betray us." Like, and it just, I don't know, man. That just it saddens me deeply. Like that every leader, whether it's in the United States or beyond, in the homeland or wherever Black people live, anybody that represents Black people to a high degree or with a high level of notoriety, they're just fucking targets on a board, waiting to be fucking picked off. And it's I don't know. It's just sad as hell. So I don't know.
Racism and white supremacy.
Fucking match made in heaven, huh? It's crazy.
I think that it just means that we have to, yeah, and we can't really have leaders,
Yeah.
and like we can't have people being propped up. Like, I don't know. Maybe if someone starts to get propped up because they'll always try to find someone, that person has to go into mandatory hiding for like 2 months or something. Like, I mean, they're still doing work, but they can't be like
they gotta be out the
or
way.
something until until the media finds a new person and it just keeps cycling it.
I fuck with that low key. That can maybe work, but somebody will sell it out though. So that fucking man, but I don't know.
I mean, that's what happened though. I think at one point I remember listening to something that said that the Black Panthers had so many ops in there, they didn't know who was a cop or not. So like whenever they would like a lot of Black Panthers are like in prison right now because they'll never like rat because they didn't know who was a cop or not. And like I mean that's definitely probably gonna happen.
And so many, the powers that be will send their people to infiltrate the fucking organization and tear that shit apart from the inside. So that's a good point that you brought up. Actually, how can we see who's really with the shit and who's just the opportunist?
Get in tune with your intuition. You could peep game through anybody.
Deceitful people can deceive like well, like that shit is like it's psychopathic to let me not say like social. It's just fucked up, Maybe I'm using the wrong word. I don't know, psychopathic or sociopathic, but whatever. But it's
psychopathic racial personality.
Yeah, they'll do anything to look like they're down. Like, oh yeah, I'm with this shit. Yeah. Like, oh, you inspired me. All this other shit. But the whole fucking time they talking to their white fucking point of contact. Like, yeah, they're gonna lead the march and they're gonna feed the kids and they're gonna whoopty whoop. They're not gonna pay the debt and blah 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 blah. They're gonna fucking sell everybody out. And it's so scary, man. It's so scary to think like just take this book club for example. Like I don't know. Like I feel like it can be poison. Like I hate the fact that things can't remain sacred, man. It just bothers me. Like it bothers me too much. Like I try not to get. I feel like I get too passionate like about just like this shit, but it just disturbs me too much. Like I fucking hate thinking about this shit, and like it kind of it plagues my mind constantly. Maybe not. Like I don't know this man. Like I never heard of this man before today, but the thought that you can like have all the best intentions and then people can come on board and wreck your whole fucking ship if you're not careful.
Yeah.
You gotta have infiltrators. You gotta have infiltrators in the government too. So.
Imagine having food, shelter.
That's how you infiltrate. You gotta infiltrate the system, and you infiltrate the what's it called? The justice system and the government. You gotta start off with the law enforcement first. They know that when you start off with the law enforcement, that once you infiltrate to dismantle it, that it goes straight to the justice, to the government. But that's why they so terrified now of what LA is trying to do.
Dedication to seconds.
Like The Departed. Have you guys seen that movie where the guy is like, he's like undercover, but also undercover for the mob?
Yeah.
Who's it? I've heard of this movie. I've never seen it though, but yeah.
Oh, you should absolutely watch that movie, Jair. Like if you're not doing anything today.
For sure. I'll probably go do this for sure.
Phenomenal.
You heard about that guy from Louisville?
Yeah, let's not get distracted though. I don't know, but yeah.
The guy from Louisville, he was like a lead activist for like a black group. I don't know what the black group is called, but he got, I think a couple of weeks ago, he got arrested by the FBI.
Not fucking around. Coalition.
They said, quote unquote, that he pointed a gun at one of the
leader. You see,
leaders.
Yeah, no leaders. Also, the face of Breonna Taylor's movement has been murdered. Was murdered. The face of the Breonna Taylor movement.
Fuck, man.
Some unfortunate blackmail. But yeah, this is why it's very important, like us as individuals and as victims, slaves, prisoners of war, to, individually like work to solve this problem by understanding what it is, how it works first. That's like the most important thing we could do.
See now, just like this is just unforgivable. So you killed the face of Breonna Taylor's like movement, yet that we don't know where any of the cops are, or maybe they do know where they are. They're just still being ignored and quitted. I'm thinking like, what if they did a trade like, okay, so you don't want to put the prisoners, you don't want to put them in prison. How about releasing like the prisoners of war from the Black Panther Party? What have they done? Literally, like they should be, everybody should be, what's the word, extradited? I'm not sure the terminology.
And they should
Like
fucking be freed. Like no matter what the political
should be,
terms, no matter what the correct terms are, they need to be let go. Like,
Well,
a
maybe
petition.
because they feel like, oh, they're gonna try to do it again, but do it in a better way. You know, that's why they ain't free.
yeah, I'm sure it's all, anything to control the people, man. So whatever, man. This shit depresses me. Like I hate to feel like I just feel defeated. Like I know that's not the point of this, but it just that's what it makes me feel. It makes me feel.
I mean, to be Jair, at some point you have to understand that like people were facing circumstances even more dire and worse than us, and they just had to like strategize and like figure it out. Either that or just, you know, die. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like at some point you have to just be like, okay, these are the circumstances. Now I need to figure out solutions based on an analysis of what has happened in the past and a code that I'm like having with myself, because you can't always just be like, this is so bad and this is making me upset. Like at some point you have to be able to like just contain your emotions to be able to see that the larger fight is much more like important than any sort of like pessimism that you may be feeling.
You probably, yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah, I be telling people your emotions are not gonna help you.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, really well said. But I totally agree. When you're like trying to solve a problem, you don't your emotions don't matter. You know.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, you're right as fuck. So I mean, it is what it is, bro.
Like
Like,
complaining does not do anything at all. It just creates stress in your body. You know?
Basically, you can't
yeah.
grow weary of the ways of the world.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that, but I still like I can't help the fact that I feel that way though. You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't blame me. We all feel that way in some points of time, but we know that's not going to be the end game of it.
I don't know. Yeah, man.
It helps me. It helps me know that all my like favorite people are people who are melanated and black. So I'm like, hey, they're going through it too. So like misery loves company. So I get through it. At least I'm trying to solve the problem. I'm not, just running away from it. Yeah, I'm trying to solve the problem.
Yeah, I fuck with that, bro. I fuck with that heavily. That's really important.
Yeah, that gives me hope. Yeah, it gives me hope.
So this being said, just to keep the morale up and just to understand that this problem can be solved. Anything built can be taken apart, like the system of racism. So this is from the Word Guide, Neely Fuller's Word Guide. It's called zeroism, or zeroistic behavior. And he says, use these terms to apply to things said or done, not said or done, that directly or indirectly have the effect of not helping to promote the replacement of the system of white supremacy racism with the system of justice and correctness, balance between all people, all creatures, all things, etc., in all areas of activity, existence, and non-existence. So we should familiarize ourselves with this term. And I just when we hear zeroism, zeroistic thinking, just call it what it is and be like, part of the codified approach to solve this problem. Yeah. Anything else, or can we adjourn? Should we adjourn?
I wanted to say that I think it's really like incumbent on us to like maybe share this documentary with like people in your family and like especially kids to see the type of people, type of leaders that we are not talked about
I mean, yeah, we're not supposed to worship leaders, but just the type of people at least who did the type of work that we want.
He tried to solve the problem.
Yeah, like that can be like inspirational or aspirational. So yeah, that's all I was gonna say. I put some other people in the chat who like also are really interesting people to look up, who have done a lot of work in Africa, and yeah, it's a really important part of our history.
That's crazy. Like I've never heard of this man, and I'm sure there are many, like you said, like you put in the chat. There's so many unsung people that have never got the credit for trying to liberate folks. You know what I'm saying? Because why would they get credit? That's not helping the machine. So
yeah,
yeah.
Yep. All right, thank you everyone for participating.
Or have a good day, y'all. Peace.